We're going to go ahead with our Week 10 Underdog Group of 5 parlay. I'm going to get started here with a team that I've been on for most of this season. Almost hit a monster underdog spot against Louisiana early in the season. Going with the South Alabama Jags plus 165 here against Troy. Jags are 5-3 on the season, but they have a pair of losses by 2. As I mentioned, ULL and then also Texas State. Very easily, without much imagination, a few plays going right for them on the season, they could be 7-1. And I think you're getting a discount on a team that, now that we are in the heart of Sun Belt play, you have to evaluate them based on how they're playing against conference opponents. Don't worry about the early season growing pains that they were encountering. When you look at what they're doing on offense, their last 4 games, 33.5 points per game. Jalen Tolbert has turned into the best receiver in the Sun Belt. 10 catches, 141 yards, and 5 touchdowns across the last 5. That's 10 catches per game, 141 yards per game. The kid is just an absolute monster, and he's allowed them to pair this suddenly dynamic offense with a really stout defense. By Sun Belt standards, this is elite. 19th nationally in total defense, 30th in yards per carry allowed. Their pass defense may even really be better. 55% completions allowed, and they're picking off nearly 5% of opponents' passes. They're top 10 nationally in taking the ball away when the ball's in the air. So that's led to them being top 25 in turnover margin. All of these reasons, I think they should be favored in this game. I love those spots where you're a short underdog, and I really think that they should be -3 or 4 in this game and not the Troy Trojans. So I'm going to go ahead and take South Alabama, not complicated. What are you going to pair up for us here in Week 10?
Yeah, first, I love that. That was actually going to be mine. When I went through the card last night, I had written down and done all the research for that as well, because that was going to be mine. Obviously, South Alabama was my best bet last week. That cashed. I agree with you. I love this defense. I think, Bentley's a great quarterback he's a perfect like G5 kind of quarterback. I'm going to pair it with a team I talked about last week as well. They were my hero last week. I'm going with the UL Monroe Warhawks plus 150 at Texas State. The Warhawks are just a lot better than people think. They were 0-10 last year. And I think, most people kind of still think of them as that bottom feeder of college football. They're 4-4. They're playing good football. They're 2-3 in conference play, whereas Texas State's 2-6 this season. They're 1-3 in conference play. And, UL Monroe is beating good teams. They're beating teams better than Texas State. You just talked about Troy. They beat Troy. They beat Liberty. They beat South Alabama. So, they're beating teams that are much better than Texas State. Texas State lost to Incarnate World. They lost to Eastern Michigan. They lost to Troy. They lost to Georgia State, and they got whooped by Louisiana last week with Rich Rod's son in the hospital with a deflated lung or something like that, I think. They brought in that freshman Chandler Rogers, who's looked really good. He's very mobile. He's fast. He gives them this kind of different dynamic to their offense. He did get hurt late in the App State game, but I was reading about it earlier today, and Terry Bowden said that it was just, he got hit on the arm. They were getting smoked by App State. He figured let him rest. He's expected to play. He's been back at practice. And Rogers has played the last, 4 games. He's got 8 touchdowns, just 3 picks, very mobile. His leading wide receiver is Boogie Knight, which is just a phenomenal name to bet on. I don't know how you handicap awesome names, but I like to factor it in. I think it's a little bit important. So Boogie Knight's certainly the name of a guy I'd want to bet on. And Texas State's dealing with injury concerns of their own. Brady McBride dealing with an ankle injury. He didn't play at all against Louisiana, and word out of campus, he's not fully practicing. Tyler Vitt has been taking the first team starts. Tyler Vitt threw for 42 yards last week against Louisiana, so he's not exactly shown me anything that screams, be afraid of this quarterback. So with Terry Bowden, Rich Rodriguez, this is their first year, both very veteran coaches, both coaches who have been successful as head coaches at the Power 5 level, been around the block. And I think this UL Monroe team is buying into them. They're buying into what their 2 veteran coaches are preaching, and I think it shows in their play. And the other thing that I like about this play that's a little bit concerning is Texas State's athletic director put out this huge statement this week, basically saying, hey, we suck, but we know we suck, but we're going to try harder not to suck, and please support us even though we suck. So maybe that inspires the fan base. It didn't come off it to me. So he's like, please come to support us during homecoming, even though we're bad. We promise we'll try to be better next year. I don't know. I'm not buying it. I think they suck. So, and like I said, I think Monroe is playing better, and I think they're still kind of getting priced at the team last year when they've shown they're an average team. They're 500 this year. So at plus 150, give me the Warhawks.
I like you playing the Paul Thomas Anderson card here, just tying your wagon to Boogie Night. That's an incredible move on your part. I do want to point out that it is Incarnate Word. I believe their global expansion, they will become Incarnate World. But go Cardinals. Certainly a team that we'll touch on.
If you lose to a team, I don't even know how to pronounce their name. That's a bad sign.
Yes, San Marcos at this point is really only known for tubing. Get in the water, grab some friends, put a cooler of beer in there, go down the San Marcos River. It's a good time for anyone in Austin. You can travel down the river. But this team is going down the river for sure. It was a team I liked a lot last year. They had a lot of fight in them, but they did something weird in the offseason. They didn't recruit a single high schooler in their recruiting class. They brought in some transfers, and that always goes one of two ways. Either the kids are ready to play and they're adults, or just the jigsaw pieces do not fit together. And it's pretty clear at this point, with the sample size being what it is, that Texas State is just not putting it together on the season.
And that's a team, by the way, that's going to quit because they're not playing for next season. They're not like, oh, we're going to build on it and give us, like, if we're all transfers, we're all going to be gone next year. They're going to quit. I hope.
I think it's a very good point. And when you put these two plays together, both out of the Sun Belt, you get plus 575 on your money. So hopefully we can cash that for our audience.